Hey,
So loud.
everybody.
So loud.
Why does it say
We-
confirm your speaking language?
We are so excited to be here. We are going to be
I think it's
talking.
recorded in French right now.
Is it
Is it? Oh,
recording
wait.
in French?
Hold on. Wait. Can y'all hear us in the right language right now? We just want to make sure.
All right, cool.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so this is going to be on YouTube, so y'all bear with us. There's a lot popping
Somebody
up on
clicking.
here. Okay. I'm Chloe.
Kristen.
Justin.
And we are super excited to talk with you guys about coaching the coach. And so this is going to be a high level training. This will be on YouTube. So that way, when you do have leaders that are at that point where they want to learn, how do I develop high level leaders? How do I develop directors? How do I develop people that are bought in, that are like you guys on the call, right? How do we find people like us and how do we develop them? And it's really cool because Kristen, a lot of you guys may not know this, but me and Kristen actually created coaching calls together. And Justin was a big part of that too, which we're going to get into in a minute, because I think stories are super important. And to understand the reason on why that one-on-one, that coaching. I know coaching can be a trigger word for some people, but that's what it is. And we've always really called it coaching. What did we call it before that?
Coaching.
Was
It's
it
always
coaching
been
always?
coaching,
It's always
I
been
think,
coaching.
yeah.
The
Okay.
name of the program was AIM.
Yeah.
Oh,
But-
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Aim.
So one-on-ones is what we're going to talk about. So this is not going to be a training on like how to like maximize doing awesome training calls and how to do all these big, awesome things at SFR with your team. This is all about the one-on-one. And me and Kristen were talking about this before the call and how we really built directors and star directors and superstar directors and leaders. It came from those one-on-ones, but focused. So focused and with direction. So that's what y'all are going to get today, because this is why we created coaching calls to begin with, because we found ourselves always being on the phone, right? And just not having a focus and then getting off. And Justin would be like, what did y'all talk about? And we're like, we really don't know, but they're going through it right now. They spent about 25 minutes talking about their
grandma.
Yeah, I'm over here struggling myself, but I'm helping them get through it. And then we finally got around to parties, but then they were talking about why they can't do that. So having a direction is going to be essential when you coach. And I think that's why a lot of people get discouraged, because you're not identifying necessarily the right people. And then you also don't have a direction. And so I'm super pumped about this. Before I get into it though, Kristen, do you want to share why coaching is important, one-on-ones, anything you want to share before Justin goes?
I mean, I feel like Chloe kept telling me to go way back in the day when we were talking about everything, because, you know, for years we did this together. And what happened in those years while we did this together was we organically grew. And while we were organically growing, we were also growing people and growing friendships and growing connections and all those things. And I feel like that's one thing in this that we want to really clarify and make sure you guys realize, is that like the connection piece is huge and it changes everything. And also like having someone to do it with and someone to collaborate with while you're doing it, because sometimes coaching can be tough. That's important too. So I think that's it.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you touched on that before you go into why you told me and Kristen we need a plan and like what you used to do as a banker.
Yeah.
But this is a people business. And we're going to talk about servant leadership in a minute before we get into all these strategies that I do and strategies that are tried and true. But I'll never forget this. My dad has always been in sales and he's always been in customer service. And he told me right in the beginning, like, to focus on the people, and the people will build your business. So this is going to shake a lot of y'all, but I don't look at numbers. I don't do daily numbers. I don't look at how much I make off each person, which sounds crazy and also may sound foolish, but I do look at parameters like it's halfway through the month. Am I almost paid at title? Is my PRV goal there? Is my recruiting goal there? Is my active frontline goal there? I have those things, but I'm always very heavy people focused. So like, how can I develop them to develop others? So it's kind of like that rinse and repeat, that really in the long term too helps you, because
Yeah.
then when you teach people how to do what you're doing, but their way, it's not like it's a copy and paste, it's let me show you what works, right? And then you do it your way, then you're really going to build a freaking monster of an organization. So do you want to share really quick why Coaching Forms kind of started? You don't
Yeah,
need to,
so she mentioned, so a long time ago, I was in banking. So when I first got into banking, I was very young in my role. So I was 24, 25 years old, managing a bank where I had like, I don't know, 45 people, but I was by far the youngest also. So I was also very insecure in that, being young, where I'm having to train, 40 and 50-year-old bankers who have been in their role for a long time on how to sell and create relationships, because in my mind, they already knew how to do that. But I was reminded a lot of the times from my boss, whenever he sat in and coached me as I was coaching them on their things, that I do have something to offer, that it could be one thing that you say that can change the course of their life and change this bank and change a customer's life, because they're sharing something that you saw that they didn't see and develop that in them. And so once I got that mindset of, okay, this is not about me, this is about changing a customer's life, changing somebody's life for the better by a solution being offered to them that's going to ultimately create financial wealth, change a financial goal, what have you. So I start by saying it's all about why and what whenever you're looking at doing something. And so whenever you're doing this, Chloe hit it perfectly on the head. It's not about, am I going to increase pay? It's like, no, by me doing this, I'm potentially changing somebody's life. They're going to potentially change somebody's life for the better and get them out of a situation and get them into a better situation. Or, and I think that that's very important in this, which is why one-on-one connection is so important, and why I feel like, we heard it at SSD Summit a lot, but in my mind, I just kept thinking like,
make sure it's not NDA.
it's not NDA.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying we said it a lot as superstar directors, where we're focusing on recruiting. But in my mind, if we develop and spend one-on-one time with people who really want this, or have a conversation with them to increase their sales from $200 a month to $1,000 a month, if you do that with about 10 people, then you're automatically going to build a better business based off numbers. Yes, recruiting is important, and we're going to get into that. I'm not saying don't, but also you may have some low-hanging fruit that you're just not seeing or not paying attention to, that you can grab and develop, and they can be your next leader. So I just think that's important. So why coaching though? So first and
Oh, we
foremost,
haven't even got there.
no,
yet.
I just was showing the story about why coaching was important and how it changed my life. So now why the coaching? So basically what I did from a coaching standpoint, and what I noticed that Chloe specifically was doing whenever she was talking to people, was coaching in the banking industry. I had people accountable to goals. You guys don't have it. So it's a lot different for you. So coaching for me was almost, I don't want to say negative, but it was a performance development plan, or they were going to get fired, basically was what coaching was. So that's why in this type of environment, it is a lot different. But for example, what I would do if one of my bankers under me, when we sat down in a coaching and they had a goal of bringing in, let's say $10,000 a month in deposits, but I would sit down with them and ask them how many conversations they had with customers, or how many calls did they make. I would focus a lot on their activities, which is where that formula, if you've seen any of our trainings, that A times E equals R, activities times effectiveness equals the results you want. It came from all of that. So basically what I would do was look at their activities, then look at the results. They weren't getting the results, but they were telling me they were doing a lot of activities. So the coaching part came in on the end, E, on the effectiveness. So activities times E equals R. Effectiveness is where I coached. I just like to preface it because I talk a lot. But so what I would do then is I would go in and listen to them on a call with a customer to hear what they were saying, not to micromanage, but to make sure, because I was so passionate about the products and solutions that the banks could offer could ultimately change a customer's life. I would want to hear them use the right words and coach them on a better way to say things to ultimately close the sale. That's pretty much coaching, and you look at it in sports. So basically, coaching is helping individuals, discover their own solutions and strategy. It's not you telling them exactly what to do and how to do it.
And
I think that's important.
A times E equals R. Activity times effectiveness of that activity
Yeah.
should equal results.
Yeah.
that you want. And so
That they want.
yeah, and
Yeah.
you use these SMART goals. You hear this all the time. Look, in my opinion, goals are very important, but goals change. If the goal for Chloe was what she wanted out of Cincy, which was a $300 car payment, we wouldn't have what we have right now. So goals are ever changing. I think they're important,
Yeah.
but the most important thing for somebody to build this business and what you can do as a coach is to help them develop habits that are actually high performing habits is what I would focus on with them. And it would have to be quality over quantity because people would have so many different tasks, so many different activities that they would be doing, and it would be extremely overwhelming. And so Chloe mentioned that, you know, I would hear her on the call, but I would hear her spend so much time on a call. And at the end of the day, I would just be like, well, tell me what they took away with it. What are the follow-up steps? How are you going to hold them now that they've said that you are holding them accountable? How are you going to do it? And then I don't like the word consequences, but what's going to happen if it's not met? What's next? Like there has to be something next so that you're not spending so much time with one person, not in a negative way, but it's in a way of
Duplication.
yeah,
This is
you,
all
you have to be
duplication.
able to scale it because if she spent time with every single person in our organization, that's all she would be able to do. And our business wouldn't grow because then we wouldn't have customers to sell to. But that's why coaching, I felt like I took it from the world I was in. And then I was able to replicate coaching in every industry after that I've been in. And it's all about making somebody do it better than you ever did by sharing your flaws, sharing what didn't work for you, sharing what worked for you. That way they can do it better, faster, stronger than you can. That's the whole goal of this, and to hit their own goals.
Yeah, and that's always been my motto. And also the better together of understanding, which is why really Kristen didn't even know she was going to be in this call. And I was like,
No.
you're already coming over today. So be in this call because we built it together.
Yeah.
And we, this is what I was telling Kristen too, and Justin this morning. The people that need to be coached are your low and mid-level performers. Your high-level performers are not going to need a lot of coaching.
No.
All my SSDs,
Tune-ups is what
they've
it's called.
no, they've never needed coaching. They need collaboration.
Yeah.
They need collaboration.
Yeah.
So when y'all are thinking about the ones you're coaching, it is going to take work. You know why? Because they are the mid and lower level consultant mindset that you have the ability to step into and help pave their way for them. And so this ties great now into what servant leadership is, which Kristen, I want you to share a little bit about your career and what you do and how servant leadership ties into how
All I can see is Wendy's face.
she's
And
so
her
excited.
smiling.
She's
That's
so
all I
excited.
can see right now. She's
She's
so
just excited. We're in a video
I
together.
know. We are too. Okay, so as a lot of you guys know, I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 11 years. And 8 years essentially, I led the floor. And my job was leadership. And as most of you guys know, nursing is not an easy career by any means. And having a good leader and someone who's going to be there and support you when you walk on that floor for those 13 hours it's like you need that, you know? And I'm not going to get emotional. I don't do that job
Just do
anymore.
what you gotta do.
But like the kind of leader that I was because of who I am as a human, and also because with Cincy and just in general, I feel like I've been in leadership most of my life, but you have to invest yourself in these people. Like I would literally walk around to I had 9 pods. I would walk around to every nurse. I would sit there. Even if she was running around and doing stuff, I would sit there and I would wait so that we could sit there and talk for a couple minutes. And so I would learn about her and her family and like, you know, what she was going through at that moment, that kind of stuff. Because I feel like if you don't invest yourself and really become vulnerable with that person, they're not going to be vulnerable with you. And it's so important to just listen. I think that's one thing I've learned a lot over the last, years is that listening really like makes a difference in a lot of people's lives. Most people just talk and we talk and we talk and we talk, but we don't just sit there, because you can tell, when you sit there with somebody, the way their body language is and everything else, if they're okay or if they're not okay. And sometimes people just need to talk. And I think servant leadership is really taking yourself out of the equation, like Chloe's been saying, and Justin said too, and just being a servant to them.
Mhm.
And I think as a nurse that like, I mean, obviously I'm a servant anyways, I'm a nurse, but in leadership as a nurse and in Sensi too, it's so important to really like, for you to number one, be vulnerable, but also to know that they know that you really are investing in them.
Mhm.
Because as a leader, if you're not investing it, like it could take just one conversation, like she said, with a high performer, and everything can change for that person, but you have to invest in them and they have to know that like you're vulnerable and you're honest and you're kind and all of those things, because we don't have a whole lot of that anymore these days, but yeah, I mean, nursing and I mean, leadership in general, all of it goes hand in hand. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's
for
great.
sure. And I can say like, she was my charge nurse when I worked on that floor. So we would do I would call her when I needed CPR. I would call her when I needed an IV. Like, and this is the thing, you win as a team, you lose as a team.
Yeah.
And one thing we have got to do, you guys, is we have to think about servant leadership. How are we? I'm not talking about self-serving, not this do what feels good. No. Discipline and empathy. Like, do
Yeah.
you have empathy for your team? Do you care if they left Cincy tomorrow? Would you be mad or would you be happy for them and make sure they're okay? When I think about my leaders specifically, every one of them, they know this, and I say this on the first call, and we're going to get into calls in a minute and what I look for. I want to make sure, number one, where are they at in life? Number two, I want them to know that I care far more about them as a freaking person than I do about Cincy. And I mean that to my core. If they left Cincy tomorrow, I want to make sure they're good, they're okay. Like, are they opening another business? Is that what made it happen? I'm so proud of you. Like, they need to know that you care about them as people. And when it comes to servant leadership, and y'all have heard a lot about this, it really is key, because it's not about you getting paid as an SSD. And I know this is very hard to hear because you want to be paid as an SSD. I want you to be paid as an SSD, but it's not about how many first-gen directors can I get so I'm paid as an SSD. It's how many lives can I impact and change and help them do it better and stronger and faster than me. And that's always been my model, and doing it together with somebody. And when I look at me and Kristen, we were actually really, really tight for a long time. And so when we were together, working together, we would do calls side by side. We would bounce off each other after the calls. How did this go? How did that go? Oh, well, maybe you should have, like, next time do this and do that. So that also is going to help you. If you have someone that is going to be accountable with you as the leader, and y'all can help hold each other accountable to be like, okay, we're doing 6 calls this month each. Don't start crazy, because you start crazy, you're going to get burnout, right? And then you have your days when you do your leadership stuff, and then you debunk with them and go, okay, well, what are some of their things they talked about? Oh, I can help you with that. I know where this resource is, or that. And so we would do a lot of that. And so making sure we lean into each other is super important. So in saying that, with servant leadership, you guys are going to have to understand, you're going to coach people that don't listen to you. You're going to coach people that don't take your advice. You're going to coach people that leave Cincy and go to another company. You're going to coach people that literally do absolutely nothing. And that can be frustrating, but hopefully in a couple minutes, we'll be able to help you with understanding different coachable aspects and different things that are red flags as not coachable, or maybe it's time to not throw them away. That's not what you do, but it's like you have to learn this is where we're at, right? They're either going to be coached up or coached out. And Justin didn't say this, but that's why he used to have to do that in the bank, because
I said it was a negative thing.
he would sit down with them, and it was either, okay, I'm going to coach them, and like they're going to go higher,
Coached up or coached out,
or they're just, it's not for them, right? And I'm going to help you. I'm going to meet you, right? That's great. Let's meet them where they're at, but let's also call them higher. And they talk about this a lot in my church with youth. I'm involved in youth, and our pastor always says, when you see a kid acting out, don't go over and tell them all the bad things they're doing. Call them up to be a leader, instill purpose in them, instill value in them. And you have that opportunity as a servant leader. So get off the numbers every day. I want to encourage y'all to really start looking at these people and identifying, which we'll talk about in a minute, who to work with, because we have the ability to instill belief and value. And we live in a society today that doesn't do a lot of that. And a lot of these people, they don't get recognition at their jobs. A lot of you guys who have full-time jobs, I know she had somebody die yesterday on her floor, and so you have these people doing these jobs that are just so exhausting. And so you, as the leader, have the ability to pour into them. So, so how do we do that, right? How do we do this? How do we build these people? What you guys have been waiting for 20 minutes. So I have these benchmarks that I'm going to share with you guys on
You have your doc up.
what I look for. I don't. And this will all be shared in the description of the YouTube video, and I'll also pop it on the pages. But I want to
Here,
show
go to
you
the top.
guys a chart that I use for when I am developing my leaders, okay? So we'll start right here. All right, so based off their title, whenever I identify them and start working with them, this is what I try to help guide them to if they want to build leadership. So it's important when you are looking at the people that you're coaching to figure out what they want,
And y'all
okay?
can see this right on your screen. You can see the chart and everything.
Yes,
Okay, good.
so to figure out what they want out of their business, do they want to grow leaders? Do not just grow leaders, like what do they want out of their life? What is
Yeah.
that rooted reason? What's their story?
Yeah.
Everybody has a story. What is theirs? This is going to develop with trust and you putting in the work. So you building that relationship, this seems really basic, but it is so important that you guys understand that your stewardship is placed in your hands for a reason. And we've all fallen short of this. I know myself and Kristen included, but it makes a huge difference in you reaching out to that person in your stewardship that's active or at 500 or at 1,000, introducing yourself and getting to know them, right? Connecting with them. I know one thing, like Wendy Newgas does these connection calls, right? And she probably calls them that because she knows if she can get them to connect, they will listen to anything she says. If you get them to connect with you, then when you're sharing a chart like this with them, it's not so scary. So you can see where it says lead. So if I'm working with a lead consultant and they want to grow a business, they want to grow a business, not a hobby. What lane are we going to go down? If you want to do hobby, but just make a lot of commission, I will help you sell. I'll direct you to the people that do events, fundraisers, all the things. But if you want to build a business, that's what I like to coach, is people who like to build businesses, specifically financial freedom. That is what I love to coach. So if they're a lead consultant, I'm going to encourage them. Okay, one of your action steps is to grow 2 frontline certifieds and 1 frontline lead in 3 months. If you're a star, I want you to grow 1 of you, 2 leads, and 4 certifieds. These are all frontline. Yes, this looks a little harsh and crazy, but this is very attainable for someone who's going to treat it like a business. And also for you guys, for all of us, this needs to be something we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. And even as SSDs, cut that number in half. That could be, or even that could be, you know, a year goal. But I like to set really big goals. That's just how I am. I'm a high performer. I can always go down. It's hard to go up though, right? It's hard to go up. We can always go down. So yes, meet them where they're at. But like, if I'm working with an SSD that wants to build wealth, they need to constantly be building certifieds. They need to constantly be building leads, stars, and superstars, because that it's not about the 4, okay? It's not about the 4 directors. It's about the 14. And the goal is to have 14 frontline directors. If you want to build a big business, that is where I saw the biggest jump. Insert income disclosure. I saw the biggest jump from $4,000 paychecks to $50,000 plus a month. That is the difference, because when you start building first, you can build second and thirds, right? And that's what
Well, they can build
Yeah.
second. And
yes, we can teach them, and then they can instill and duplicate. And it's all about that. So
And you heard that 14 mark from
Becca and Callie Levi, you know why? Because I asked them. Too many people aren't asking questions. I asked them this 9 years ago. I think I even came back and told you immediately. I don't know why you weren't there. Maybe we just became friends. It was a long time ago. I had just promoted to SSD. And I think you were a year after me, maybe.
Yeah.
So that was why. And I was sitting with them, and I want y'all to understand, like, we got to utilize each other more, because I
Yeah.
literally was like, hey, how much are you making? I asked Becca, and she was like, you know, whatever. And I was like, how do I make 50,000 a month? And she was like, grow 14 frontline directors. Done.
I
Done.
remember that now.
Because I came back and I was like, we got to
Yes.
do this. Like, so goals are super important.
Mhm.
And so I'll make sure all of this is shared with you guys, like all the notes, but I wanted to go ahead and share that chart because as we get into coaching and as we get into like these reports Justin's looking at and how we do the calls and those kinds of things, it is important that if they are going to really want to perform and they're gonna want to build leaders, they need to understand the importance too of coaching. And I don't know what it is. It's almost like there's like been this bad rap on coaching where people are like, I don't want to coach. I don't have time to coach. You know what I hear? Selfish, 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 selfish. Because if you don't want to take the time to work one-on-one with somebody, how do you expect them to trust you and feel valued and want to listen to anything you have to say?
Truth.
There is nothing that will compare to one-on-one.
Yeah.
Nothing. And how many people do these people have in their lives that are even taking the time one-on-one to even help them, right? So, Justin, if you want to, identifying, I'm going to share a couple things that I look at specifically, and then Justin will go over some reports. But it's very simple. When you're identifying who you're going to work with, you're going to look at a couple things. Number one, you're going to look at if they are selling. This can start, it depends on what your organization looks like. I do my stewardship because I have many SSDs, so I focus on mine. I trust and am confident, and I just hope and let my others lead, and they do well. So it is important that we focus on our stewardship. There's actually a really great report Grant has now put in reporting where we can pull our stewardship, because for a long time I couldn't. And so it was really difficult for me. And so looking at how much are they selling, okay? Texting them. This seems very basic. If they are over 500 and you've not connected, tell them who you are. Tell them you see them. Tell them you value them. How excited was everybody yesterday that got those emails from Dan, right? So lit up, so excited, just over, I see you. This is who I am. I value you. I have a call next week. I'd love for you to be on it. Has anybody ever worked with you before? I would love to work with you. And that's how I get the conversation started. Also, I'm looking at active frontline. I'm huge on this. I'm looking at active frontline. I am doing that little double click and I'm seeing, okay, who has 3 or more active frontline in my stewardship? Who has 3 or more? Because those are people I want to work with. I want to see, hey, do you have a system on how you're training your team when they join? Like, what does your team connection look like? How are you leading your team? I really want to help develop them. I'm also looking at, who is recruiting? Okay. Who's recruiting? Okay, that's somebody you want to work with. Do they have launches set up for those people when they join? Are they helping them reach all these little goals, right? And now we do have Success Pass, but here's the deal. Success Pass will only go so far because you're
It's
the
an
money.
activity.
You're
It's
the
an
money,
activity.
though.
It ain't the effectiveness, and it's not the result.
You're the
So it's
one.
activity.
You're the magic, though. You as the SSD, you're the one that has the ability to go, hey, I know you don't want to work today. I do this all the time with my leaders that I have relationships with them. Like, I know you don't want to work today, but I really need you to book 5 parties. Set your goal for the flash sale for 1,000 in sales. Do this. Really, once you have that connection with them and after you coach them, you know what's going to feed their fire. You know how to push them. You know how to make them tick. And that's what I love. I love being able to step into somebody's world and going, I can make it better. So I want you guys thinking that way and not so much, how can I win, but how can I help them win, and how can we all win? How can I get them to bring their first person to SFR this year? How can I get them to buy in and speak on the training I'm doing? So I really look at who's performing. That simple. Numbers don't lie. That's cute if they're going to be active on the team page. That's important, but that's not my first priority to coach. My first priority to coach is someone who's performing. Okay. And so also there's a couple things we'll look at later, but do you want to share really quick your top report?
So, and I'll just say this too, back to what she's saying whenever she's identifying and looking, and this is where that activity times effectiveness becomes very important because, and Grant has been great about updating the reports. I'll be honest, I have Grant, he gets a lot of messages from me all the time for things that I'm seeing that could be very beneficial. So I'll just brain dump everything on him on what I think will help leaders be more effective of identifying people, because I think that it's important to be able to identify them, specifically if you start growing your group a lot. So some reports that I pull for Chloe that we'll look at, sit down, go over, and find things that she may have overlooked, because she's great at seeing things too. But, and I had something up here, but she took it off, but I have something that I looked at. She took it off because she didn't want me to say it, but I'm going to, but I have this term for consultants who are leads to SSC, and it's called the danger zone. And the reason why I call it the danger zone is because over the years, I have noticed that's when a light bulb's gonna click in on if this is gonna be real or if this is gonna be a hobby. Between lead and superstar consultant, I call the danger zone, not in a negative way, but those are the first people we're coaching is in those titles. And I've seen it, even though we don't, it's just something for me that I use. The first people Chloe will pick to coach are always out of that report. So I always like tracking and seeing if they're going to the next title and this. Some things that Grant has added that I don't know if you guys noticed. Grant actually has put in a column for total frontline now and active frontline. Active frontline's been in there, but total frontline's new. That's important because you can see a percentage of effectiveness on how well they're doing in a ratio. Sorry, that's the banker coming out, Mimi. But basically, you just divide those numbers and you can see a percentage of total frontline versus active frontline and the percentage of them that is active. That's an important number on development. There's something that could be off if it's extremely low. Like if they have 65 total frontline, but only 4 are active, there's a problem there.
Yes.
Why? What's that
time.
problem? That's the
Big
effective.
time.
That's the effectiveness.
Yeah.
And if you're in that thing,
And
that's
can I
when.
pause you real
yeah.
quick? This is why too, we've always been big on this, is 50%. You want 50% of your frontline active every month. That is a number I look at because that's showing us,
Yeah.
are we showing up and
Yeah.
leading them? Are they being led? Are they getting the tools and the resources? And maybe I need to collaborate with some other SSDs, or maybe I need to do a retreat, which I always was against them. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to do one with my girl Shauna. And now I'm like, I see it. So it's looking at that active frontline, and you always want it. That is a magic number, 50% active frontline. And also, if you don't have a lot of active frontline and if you don't have anybody to coach, you need to recruit.
Boom.
So I wanted to put that in there.
And
too.
so basically that's just one report. So how do you do that report? I can't share the screen, obviously, because there's sensitive information with other people's PRV and stuff like that. So basically all you do on the reporting tab is I live on that additional filter option. And basically the way Grant has it broken down now, you just save one report and you can click on squad or stewardship and you don't have to go into the leadership or do anything different. It's so easy now. I love it. It takes me from 10 minutes to pull everything to literally like 2 minutes now to be able to get everything pulled. But basically how you do the danger zone, if you want to start looking at leads and superstar consultants that are in your stewardship, meaning that you are going to coach them, there's nobody in between them. Basically, all you do is you set the level, not generation, the level of 01, and then you put the titles of lead consultants to superstar consultants, and it'll show you all of those that are your frontline. Now, if you want to take it even deeper, if you want to look at it as a total, then you just switch it to your whole generation and you take that level filter out of there. That may have just confused a lot of you guys. I just can't show it on there, but that's how I look at it on how far down we go. Level is people that are not directors. The level is somebody that's not a director. They're not a generation yet. That comes whenever they hit the director title and above. So that's something I look at. Another one, I have a report set for our entire generation on if they had a minimum of 2 active frontline. Why 2? That means that they are on their way to getting that third to get to leadership titles. And we can look at their active frontline and their recruiting techniques to get them to that leadership title. So literally, that's the only filter I have set is minimum 2 active frontline. No levels, no nothing. It's just 2 active frontline. That way we can see in our whole organization how many people have at least 2 active frontline, and we can start working with them. Another one, almost there per title. The way I do this is I literally go to the commission chart, and for each title, I divide what they need by 50%. And then that is that filter in that additional filter option. So for, let's just say, superstar director, if we have people that we're looking at on their way to promote to superstar director, the PRV is 250 in the filter, the TWV is 5,000 in the filter, and the GWV is 40,000 in the filter. Okay, and then the active frontline minimum is 2. I always keep it at 2. And the reason why, like I said earlier, I keep it at 2 is because we can get them to the third by just helping them develop.
Yeah, well,
But that way,
two, they're already a leader. They're already a star consultant.
For
So
sure.
when you look at 2, what do we need for a director all the way to SSD 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's that 2 to 3 is important because then you can start, these leaders don't understand what active frontline means, right? A lot of you guys probably now are starting to be like, oh, wow, that really does matter. That's important. Some of you may know this, but that active frontline is key because that's also going to show, like, are they leading the way? And the higher that goes, that's going to show a really important performance piece of like, okay, they're invested, they're consistently recruiting and getting reinstatements, they're consistently helping them be successful.
But that's just something. And then the last report that I think is important, because the most important part of this business, and I know that home office may disagree with me, is sales at the end of the day. The reason why they want more recruits is higher sales. Sales fixes everything in a business. Every business I'll talk to, there's not a business that you'll go in to say, what's the problem in your business? They can say higher expenses, but guess what? Increase your sales, and then the expenses will work themselves out, and then you just need to get a better system for it. So what another report I do is anybody that is over $1,000 in PRV, they may not have active frontline. There's no active frontline requirement on that filter. It's just $1,000 or more in PRV. That is a key indicator. If somebody in 1 month can sell $1,000 of a $6 wax, that is somebody that is hustling. I don't care what, even though some of our warmers could be $85. And this is another thing too, and I think it's important when you're coaching, which I know we're going to get into in a little bit, but I say this to Chloe all the time, and it's a trend I'm seeing. There's too much of an overconsumption of content. So if you are coaching somebody and they are trying to just sell all the flash sale, all the LTOs, all the stuff, there is an over assumption of content. Tell them to make it simple. Pick 3 products and just sell those 3 products and share those 3 products only. I guarantee you their sales are going to increase because they're going to find people that are passionate about that product. Don't sell the body wipes if you're not using them. Share it. Hey, we offer this now, and it may catch somebody's eye that uses body wipes and are interested in it. But if you don't use the product, I said this to my bankers all the time, you cannot sell a product you don't use or are not passionate about.
Yeah. So in saying this, y'all know all that. So in saying this, when you're looking at the people selling 1,000, okay, one thing that we'll do, and I realize most of you guys don't have a duo like this, so you're printing your own reports. So what you'll do is you'll have your day where you do team stuff. Every one of you should have 2 days a week where you're doing team and leadership. 2, not 1, 2. Minus Tuesdays and Thursdays. Today's just the day that we ended up doing this, but normally Tuesdays and Thursdays. When you print off these reports, okay, when you are getting these numbers of these people, you are texting them if they're over 1,000. I even like I said, 500, because I can work with that. I can work with 500, but that's where you can go ahead and go, hey, I see you and I want to help you. Is this something you've thought about? Have you thought about doing more with Scentsy? Because I want to help you do that. So going ahead and sharing with them, this is what I can offer you. I see you, and getting that repetitive, which is why it's important to have day blocks on when you are doing leadership stuff. Otherwise, it's just going to be a mess.
You can overwhelm yourself with this very quickly. I've seen them. I've seen her do that. I've seen me being on the outside and more the analytical. I like to look at things a lot. And so those reports that I shared are like the key ones that I've looked at that I've seen the most success with. Because at the end of the day, you can recruit 25 people in 1 month, you focus on people, but at the end of the day, we're coaching people to build wealth. That's our focus. But if you recruit those 25 people and nobody promotes, nothing's happening, all 25 of those in a year are falling off, and you're repeating the cycle. So how can I recruit 8 people and then get those 8 people, at least 2 of those to be a director, or so on and so forth? So it's all about that. And it's a numbers game. This is direct selling. This is not like a corporate structure. So this is direct selling at the end of the day. So this business is definitely going to look a lot different. You want the numbers to find the quality here, but at the same time, I was saying the overconsumption of content, because there are so many products you can sell. And what I'm saying is, based off what I'm seeing from a trending standpoint, people will look at one product only and state it at one product. Just like we were talking to one of our employees at my marketing company. She only wants Luna, and she only cares about Luna, and will only like Chloe's story whenever she shares something in Luna and respond to it. But all the other ones, she just clicks through.
Which is why the Build-A-Kits are so important, but we're not going to talk about that. So the second report Justin talked about was the almost there. So that means for every
each title
lead all the way up to SSD, they've reached half those requirements for a lead. They're not going to have.
After the 15th, I'll start pulling that report to answer Aaron's question. After the 15th is when I'll start looking, because I'm like, okay, they're trending, but they won't show up if they're not hitting those requirements.
But here's my thing. if you are trying to be a better leader, when you have your leadership days, or even this is the way I think when I'm trying, I don't want to be good at anything in Cincy. I want to be the best. I want to be great. So if you were trying to learn how to identify leaders, you need to be looking at reports kind of crazy, like every couple days, looking at reports, seeing if new people catch your eye, building relationships with them, all the things. But the almost there is they're halfway to the title. And then the other one was if they've sold 1,000. So these are all things, right?
Notice, none of those had anything to do with recruiting. And I know that sounds bad, but I think sales fix everything. That's just my mindset. And that's something my dad always told me. That's something mentors. Sales are important, and growing and hitting performance numbers are very important.
But I will say this, because Justin's not a recruiter, right? We're the recruiters. You have to have sales so you can get them into recruitment.
Exactly.
Because recruiting is the heartbeat of this business. That is why there's the challenge to recruit 5 this month, because we need to be leading the way with getting these people to see on our teams that this is how you grow. And so that is something that is very much the heartbeat of the business. So we're going to talk really quick about energy vampires. And then we're going to go over how I do my coaching calls, and then we'll be done. So with energy vampires.
So do y'all understand what energy vampires are real quick and where that came from? A majority of people, Energy Buzz by John Gordon. That book is so old now, but that book has been the core thing in everything that I do from dealing with people.
So this changed my life in coaching. So when me and Kristen first used to coach, we would coach anybody. We would post our stuff on the team page and say, comment if you want to do a call. We would drain ourselves. I would be getting home from work and stay in the car for 45 minutes and miss putting my son to bed. And listen, I'm not saying there's not a sacrifice. I sacrifice every single day in my business in some way, because if you have that big focus of if financial freedom is something you're looking at, I get that's not for everybody, but that's what I'm passionate about. There is a sacrifice. But what I learned is I had to have parameters. And so after we were doing our coaching calls for probably about a year, we were like, wow, we really got to get a schedule down for this. We've got to figure out our times, because people are sucking us absolutely dry. And what you're going to have, it's called The Energy Bus is the book.
John Gordon's the author.
And Justin got me on that, like 7 years ago, because he would see how drained I would be after calls. And now I'm refreshed after calls. So it's much different.
I was about to say, you will be excited after a call.
When you were developing people that you have identified and you have chosen to mentor, people don't choose you as their mentor. You choose them. Okay. It's very important to know. People don't just come to you and go, hey, I want you to mentor me. No, I'm going to choose who I want to mentor. Because you can't give that to everybody. And I like to mentor more, just so you guys know, of the higher performers. I choose to mentor them along the way because they've been more bought in. So that's when I actually choose to mentor. But what are energy vampires? So, they're going to be people that sometimes they're really negative. They complained about the flash sale yesterday. They, they don't show up to calls, but they love to comment on your Zoom link and say, oh, I already can't watch it, but I'll watch the recording, but it's every time. So they're not showing up. They complain a lot. I am literally allergic to excuses. I just tell my team that, I just can't, it's not a good place for me. And so if you're going to come with excuses, I come with solutions. So my team knows if I'm going to coach with you, if I'm going to work with you, yes, we'll talk about your season of life, because I need to know that. That's important. I need to know your mental state. I need to know your job state. I need to know if you're married. I need to know what your kid's situation is. Are they in sports? What's going on? Then we're going to do solutions. But these are the kinds of people that they never seem to be happy. They suck onto you for success. They're almost like a leech. And, I was going to say something, but I didn't want you because it was about your ex. It's almost like they don't want you to do better than them, but they don't want to do what you do, but they want you to be down here with them.
Yeah. And if you read the book, there's 8 titles of them. It's the complainer, the pessimist, the gossiper, the drama queen king, the victim, the time waster, the critic, and the martyr. Those are the 8 that you'll read about in the book. We're not going to go through all of them, but you'll read about those in the book if you do read the book. And actually, now she's going to talk about how to handle them and what y'all walk through. I think that's important.
Well, and how different we were back then too.
Yeah, because Cincy's evolved and everything is constantly evolving
and getting better, like
in life. But it's like with coaching, you know, Cincy wasn't doing this 9 years ago. Nobody was doing this.
Yeah.
And so not only did we look like psychos, but also
we didn't know what we were doing.
But that's how you build systems.
Yeah.
And that's how the system built now and how to coach, because we've walked through this, and it's not that we don't care about people. We love people, but it's like you have to be smart, because this is the business. You can't every time you say yes to somebody else, you're saying no to yourself and to your family.
Exactly.
So I am very particular about my yes. I'm very particular about who I work with. I'm very particular about what I'm doing with them and how I'm helping them. But you have to
don't get that confused with servant leadership, because I have heard people like, with servant leadership, you have to serve everybody. No, that's kind of the servant leadership. You also have to make sure that you're in a state of well-being and you're not getting drained.
Exactly.
Which you'll hear in that book too. So as you're serving those who want to be led, who want to actually do better. Boom. That's where you get in, because some people be like, well, that's kind of like counterproductive from servant leadership to not talking to people. No, it's not that you're not talking to them. It's just, you know, the boundaries that are set, you know how to coach them, you know, kind of like, you can see their numbers. Like she said, numbers don't lie. You know the direction that the call is going to go. Kristen said it better than anybody. You know, at the very beginning, you can feel how they are based off of when you're seeing them or you're hearing the tone of their voice. You're going to know triggers on how it's going to go and what you need to do in that moment. Because if you are on the phone with somebody who is draining and being an energy vampire, one thing you'll read in the book, you need to let them know.
Yeah. And so some things you can do with these people, and this sounds like, oh my gosh, you should already know this, but I want y'all to understand, because you're going to go into coaching and you're going to be so on fire that you're going to want to coach everybody. And I want to help and protect you guys so you don't burn yourself out on both ends. And so you can actually build yourself and build people's businesses. So setting boundaries, y'all have heard this a million times, but that is essential. Know when you're doing your calls. Okay. I'm going to talk a minute about my calls, when I do them, how I do them. It's very efficient. Limit interaction with these people that are energy vampires, not in a bad way. But if they're going to text you at 9:30 at night, which to me is so disrespectful, I'm sorry, I have business hours, like they know I'm with my family. I don't need a business that bad or a team that bad. I'm going to respond tomorrow, and I'm going to remind them my business hours. So limiting the interaction when they're like ding, 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 ding. Also leading by example. Okay. How are you recruiting? How are you selling? Right. We literally are getting bag parties together right after this call. We are superstar directors. We are getting bag parties together to get out after this call. How are you leading? Avoiding gossip. There's so much talk, like our team members will get upset, right, about a customer or about their sponsor or whatever. And I always tell people, when they start sniffing about their sponsor, I'm not the one, because this is your business. This has zero to do with your sponsor, and they owe you nothing. So don't be selfish and get to work. We have our team page, our team website. You've never been on a call. And so why don't we start there? Okay. I don't say it like this, but I'm just saying, like, that's what it is. We're not going to talk about people. Let's talk about building a business, because when you're talking about people, you're not building anything good.
And right? Nick, group. Yeah. So your stewardship, like not just your team, the stewardship squad, whatever.
No. So Nick, you may mean group, like everybody. I focus on my stewardship.
Yeah.
I focus on them. I have like one other SSD who I coach a lot of her team, but that's it. Everybody else, I've coached them they know how to coach. They know how to do it. They duplicated it. So I don't need to.
They made it their own, and they do it better.
And I'm not a babysitter. Yeah. I'm not a babysitter. So it's up to them. And if they need me, guess what? They can text me and I can help them. But we have that relationship. And that's why starting at lead consultant or star consultant with them and really developing them and doing these coaching calls is going to help them. And so now, coachable versus non-coach. Oh, do you want to say anything about energy vampires?
Woo! I was going to say one thing. I feel like you have to be in a good mental place.
Oh, in
order to do this. Because, you know, I went through a divorce 5 years ago. For the past 4 years, I've really been trying to, you know, heal and deal with a lot of things and get to the best place mentally for myself. And because of that, I didn't have the mental capacity to even put into any of this, if I'm being honest. I'm in a much different place now, thank God, literally thank God. But like, if you have to be ready, because especially if you have energy vampires come into the mix and you're not okay up here, you're really not going to be okay. Because
Yeah.
it's literally going to suck the life out of you.
Especially if you're in.
So just make sure that you're doing the work for yourself, especially, while you're doing this, because you've got to set boundaries. It's huge.
Yeah, the mental thing's big. Most of y'all have seen my downfall. And so, most of you guys probably are aware that I had actually backed off of leadership, coaching calls. I did it for a year and a half. I backed off. But it was because you're essential and y'all need to know this. And I follow a lot of you guys who are into fitness and health and taking care of yourself and faith and things like that. You have to be in a place before you start coaching. I want to make sure that y'all understand, like, are you mentally okay? Like, do you have a life coach? That's one of the greatest things I ever got was a life coach. And this is like off the notes, but who's coaching y'all?
Yeah.
Not Cincy. Who's like high level therapy level coaching you? So a life coach for me was incredible, and she really helped me put my oxygen mask on as my plane was going down and go, it's okay to pause for a minute. So you can get yourself healthy, so we can be the best version of ourselves. You guys are not here by accident. You're not an SSD by accident. You're an SSD. It's not a title, it's a position.
Yeah.
This is a position that you have been able to step into to where you can help people's lives be great, to where you can help. I mean, she opened a business whenever we were doing Cincy because she loves fashion, and he was able to open a waffle company. And so in saying that, we have that opportunity, but if you're not healthy, okay, it will catch up with you. And we don't want that for you because we have walked through that and it's not fun.
No.
Wendy's acronym. Wendy's acronym was the best from Summit, what she said.
What is it again?
It was, I just remember it was like health. It had something to do with work.
News.
That's what it was. It was great.
Yeah. And so, that's the point of like when you're coaching people and energy vampires that y'all need to understand, are you mentally okay? Because you don't want to snap on people when you're on calls. And most important, when you get off the call, you don't want to snap at your family and give them the worst version of yourself because you just listened to somebody complain for an hour because you don't have the coaching aspect right of how you're picking people. And also you are not setting those business hours and coaching hours and things like that. So coachable versus non-coachable. Coachable, they're going to have PRV goals, they're bought in, they have sponsoring goals. These are all people I work with. They have good habits. They want to know about systems or are starting systems. I'm so excited about the one Cincy's going to be coming out with hopefully for customer follow-up soon. They're showing up on the team page. They're going to events. Leaders are born at events.
Yes. We did all the things.
Okay. Leaders are born at events.
Mm-hmm.
Get them to SFR.
That's where I got bought in at, and literally the Indianapolis
Me
SFR
too.
is where I got bought in.
Get
Me
them there. Get them there. I don't care what you got to do.
Yeah.
Text them all individually. Servant leadership, get them there, virtual or in person. They attend meetings. They're a positive thinker and they're solution driven. I like to work with people who are solution driven. We can have a moment, we can feel some kind of way, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about solutions to get you out of it. And then again, that non-coachable is negative thinking. They're not doing the action. That's the biggest thing. They don't go to events. They don't show up to team meetings. They're not growing or they're unstable. Okay. They're constantly making excuses. They're not making changes and they're not implementing anything. So I want to just say before I go in really quick into coaching, you pick who to coach. I want to encourage you to do this. Please listen to me. You're missing people because you're trying to save people. I miss so many people. I miss so many people in 2021 and 2022, not even because I was picking who to coach, but I wasn't taking care of my mental health. That's why that's first, right, Shauna? That's why every retreat Shauna does, we do that first. And I love that about her because if your mental health's not great, I don't care what your systems look like. I don't care if you make the best flyers. I don't care if your fundraisers are $9,000. You're not going to be able to sustain because Your mental is how you have capacity. If your mental is good, you have a lot of capacity, you can coach. A lot of y'all probably aren't coaching
You can
because
serve.
a lot of y'all probably can't serve because you don't have capacity. And that's okay, but let's realize that and let's do the work so we can step in position to be who God has created you to be, which is a leader. That's why you're here. So coaching, one-on-ones, I use Calendly, okay? I love Calendly. I have used Calendly for 5-6
Such a
years
weird
now.
I can't say it.
Calendly,
I'm about to
I
get her on
can't
it.
say it.
Yeah, so
Calendly.
pretty much, 5 years ago, because right when we stopped being friends. So when
Never again.
I started, this is rough. So Calendly is an app where people can schedule. If you've done stuff with Cincy, y'all probably know what it is, right? A lot of y'all use Calendly. What I do is I pay the extra so I can have them texted and emailed 24 hours before the call. I also ask them, where's my phone at? 3 questions before the call. Okay. So what I do is number one, I have my time frame. So here's what I want you to do. If you don't have a coaching calendar, I want you to try Calendly. They have a free one. I want you just to give it a shot. Okay. If you don't like it, find something else. But this whole I don't like to coach. If you don't like to coach, this isn't the call for you. That's number one. If you don't want to build people, if you want to keep doing mass meetings and adding people to Facebook trainings to be led, you do you, boo. But this is for people that want to do one-on-ones. And I do think the mass trainings are important. I'm not saying that. But for this right here, you need a scheduling link. So I use Calendly. I do my coaching calls on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I do them between the hours that work for me, which is between 9 and 2. Okay, because I get my kids some days, not most days. It's different for me because he's at home right now in school. So he has a lot of time. So he'll get the kids, but still when they're home, I'm done. That's just the way it is. That's the way it is for me. Because your kids are watching you, your family's watching you, like your husband, your spouse is watching you, your wife is watching you. And so, I do Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's my availability. I send them when I identify who I want to work with. It's very simple. I walked through that before with you guys, what I'm looking at. I reach out to them. I instill value and belief immediately. I see you. I want to work with you. If this is something you want, I would love to do that. Boom. And this could also be certified. This could be people in their first 70 days too. I didn't even talk about that. If they're in your downline in their first 70 days and they're killing it, work with them. It's so much easier to mold them in the first 70. Okay. But then I send them the Calendly and they go ahead and pick their time. It's beautiful. The 3 questions that I ask them are this, and this is through Calendly. I used to do all these forms. Me and Kristen did. Oh, I used to do all these forms, but we stopped that.
Yeah.
It worked at the time
It
though.
did.
We figured out
It
what
did.
they needed. But these are the questions I asked. Number 1, what is your topic to discuss on the call? What do they want to talk about? I need to know that period, right? How many of y'all get on the phone and
There's no direction.
the ADD takes over and it's lost. You just did a counseling session. Good job.
Yes.
That's it though.
Yes.
So what is the what is the topic they want to talk about? The second question is this: what is your current title? And have you been paid at title? Why? Something we realized when we were doing our coaching forms is when they were filling all that out, they were self-reflecting. They need to self-reflect on something. So if this girl is a STAR director, I'm doing a call with next week, her current title STAR director, and she's been paid at title. Guess what? I just invited her to a retreat. I'm like, boom, you need to come. I haven't told you that yet, Shauna, but I will. But I was like, I need her there. You're hungry, you're doing all the things, you're doing my build training, boom, boom, you're checking all these boxes. Let me get you to this retreat. It's all about building them higher. So what is the topic you want to discuss? What is your current title? What is your goal title? I need to know that. And then the last question is, please list any systems you are currently doing for your business. This is going to get them thinking, because even with a certified consultant, they need some kind of customer follow-up system. Yeah. And that's how businesses run, is by systems. So anybody who says I don't like systems, I don't like this.
Choose a better word for it. Yeah.
But it's a system.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? It's a system. A habit is a system. The days that you're doing certain things is a system, right? How many parties you're going to book a month is a system, so on and so forth. Those are the 3 questions I ask. That's it. And then when I get on the phone with them, if they are if they're an SSC or under, I try to do 20 to 25 minutes. That is my max. If they are a director or over, I'm going to do 50 to 60 minutes. Okay. And so what I'm talking about with them is very different. So from certified all the way up to, really star consultant, I'm making sure, do they have recruiting goals? Are they selling? How are they recruiting? How are they selling? Let's go over conversations you're having with your customers. Send them to me. I want to teach you how to set goals. I want to learn I want to learn about you. That first call, you're learning about them. You're listening.
Mm-hmm.
You're listening. And then you're going, okay, I can help you with this.
Mhm.
You can do this. So you're instilling value to, this is important. While you're on the call with them, you're instilling value and purpose, and you're also plugging them in with, hey, I have a team call coming up this month. This is why, guys, as leaders, we got to do team calls, team connections, meetups, things like that, because we got to give them like, hey, this is what I can offer to you. This is what I'm doing to serve our team. So when you have a team member, this is what I offer. That's why I created actually a team website like 2 years ago, because I saw Jennifer Anderson do it. And I was like, I need this resource because I don't like Facebook. Most of y'all know this. If I don't respond to your message, I'm not being ugly. I just don't check it. Because again, that's too much consumption for me. So I focus on Instagram and texting.
So
So
Kelsey and Aaron, real quick, ask, because I think it's important while you're here. Some people work full time and can't do 9 to 2. You do sometimes will do one-off calls depending on the situations outside those hours with people who.
Yeah, I'll let Kristen handle that in a minute because she
Okay.
has a full-time job. So then at the end of the call, you're going to do a call to action. So you're going to reel it in and you're going to go, okay, I know today, this girl next week, she wants to talk about growing leaders. I know you want to talk about growing leaders. So your call to action, based off what we talked about, it seems your recruiting goals going good. You've recruited one this month. So I'm also pulling their downline. I'm in front of a computer. FYI, if they're a leader, if they're
You're doing homework before the call.
if they're and on the call, if they're an SSC, I'm looking at, okay, have you worked with her? Have you worked with her?
Mhm.
Have you worked with her? What's going on with her? Oh, well, she has an issue. She doesn't want to work with me. Yeah, but she has a team of 9. Have you dug down? Have you worked with her, and her? So I'm literally helping develop them and teaching them, right? The things that you guys know how to do. I'm teaching them how to identify and how to work with people. I'm teaching them to start their own calls, to start their own team hangouts and meetings. I'm teaching them, if they don't have a team page yet, to start a team chat. I'm teaching them how to actually build leaders. Hey, walk me through what it looks like when someone joins your team. Walk me through it. Walk me through a week in your business. Walk me through what it looks like whenever you are on the phone coaching with somebody. And sometimes I'll do this. I just recently started it. I sometimes will loop Justin in, but other times what y'all could do is loop other leaders in. So you could have, like I had 2 weeks ago, I had my girl Beth on, and then I had her person that wanted to be coached by me, but I wanted Beth on so all 3 of us could collaborate together. So that's another thing I'll do as well. So I can loop
Coach the coach.
coach and it's all about like duplication, and also like, let's make sure we're all on the same page, because what we're not going to do is be like, oh, she skipped over me to coach me. No,
Yeah.
this is rule of thumb. As long as that leader knows that you're coaching them, and I'm almost 100% accuracy on this with how I lead. If they know, hey, I'm going to work with so-and-so, I know that first I'll try and coach them, but if they don't want to be coached, hey, I'm going to work with Jessica. I'm going to work with these people under you. I want to help them grow. When you're ready, let me know, because I want to help you, but I've got you right now. And there's a lot of people I do this with. I mean, high level leaders, I coach their teams and work with them, because it's not just about getting paid off first, seconds, and thirds. I mean, there's people I work with that I've never gotten paid off of, but it doesn't matter. It's all about me. I mean, literally me and Kristen are in different downlines. It's all about helping each other win. So the call to action at the end, I tell them this. Whenever we go over the call to action, I will text it to them after the call to like loop it in, because a lot of times they do get overwhelmed, and I thank them for their time. I don't care that they use my time. And this is important. This ain't about you. Thank you for your time. I'm so excited for you. I can't wait to hear all these things you're going to implement. These are the biggest 2 things with the call to actions that we talked about on the phone. So in saying that, I want you to text me when you do it. I want you to send me your 6-month plan. I want you to send me what you're using to track annual mentor and annual sales. I literally tell them on the phone, you guys, if I don't see it, I don't know it. I do not run after them. I do not like, I did that for a long time and it's very mentally draining.
Mm.
And I tell them, hey, and at this point, guys, you're going to have, I write mine down on my board and I have them in a notebook, and also Calendly. You can go back and see everybody. So you can check in after a month if you haven't heard from them, right? But also I have a relationship with the ones that are doing actions, because the ones that do actions, they'll do them in a day. Okay. The ones that don't, they're probably never going to text you, and that's okay. That's where you win some, you lose some, but it's going to show me, who do I need to develop? Who do I need to invite on retreats? Who do I need to have speak on a call to show that they add value?
Mm.
Who do I need to push a little bit more with the flash sale? Who do I need to encourage to take care of themselves? Like, who is going to show up and who's going to put in the work and show me they're putting in the work, not just getting on the phone with me to try to suck my success, but who's going to actually do these action steps? And that's who I start developing. And then I tell them, in 90 days, we'll do another call, reach out to me. But most of them, I'm already talking to them along the way. But then after 90 days, we're going to do another call, and they should be growing in their PRV. They should be growing in their recruiting, and they should be growing in their leadership and building leaders. And those are the 3 things that we discuss on the next call. If they promote, we schedule a call too. So keep that in mind. So then if they promote regardless, we're going to schedule another call. And like I said, I get them engaging. I do working Zooms. I know Shauna and a lot of you guys do this as well. I love it. I want to start doing them with you. I was going to tell you. And I'll have like a little topic, but mostly I have them in their videos up, and I'm asking them to be brave and share. This has been a game changer for me. They don't need to hear you guys. Okay. They've heard you enough. They need to be full screen on, unmute them, let them share how they sold an air purifier today.
Mm-hmm.
Let them, that seems so small, but stepping them up in that level, in that position of they have value to add, that has grown leaders more than anything else I've ever done. It's coaching them and then also following along. And when I see them doing something awesome in their story, I don't look at posts, I look at stories. I'm like, hey, screenshot, I would love for you to share that on the team page. Hey, screenshot, I would love for you to share that on the team call. And so getting them sharing is really it's been a really pivotal process with me in helping build leaders, is showing them that they have value to add, right? Because when they see they have value, it does something to their brain and they go, okay, I think I can do a little more.
Yeah.
I think I can recruit a little more. I think I can do a little more. So that's it. And then the last part is duplication, meaning you're going to now coach the coach. So like, you guys now are going to coach your teams. You're going to get your system in place. Please get a system for this, meaning what is your time frame on when you're available? You're not open 24 hours. And it may be a Saturday for you. So I know Kristen,
And real quick, I was going to share this.
Let's
Well,
answer the first question, then we'll
okay,
do
yeah,
this.
yeah.
So,
true.
If
somebody's full time and don't have time.
with
Okay.
full time, why don't
Yeah.
you share with them how you coach, how you sell, how you do all that?
So I obviously am a nurse, and what I used to do when I was coaching, which definitely am going to be doing it the same way this time, because of the way my schedule is, I always would hop on a call when I was on my way into work. I never will take a call after work. There's no way, because I'm a nurse. I have no idea what time I'm going to leave. But it's being in the car, I spend a lot of time in my car. I don't know about how you guys, being a mom, on the road all the time, always doing a million things. You don't have to do this by just sitting here and we were going to talk about this, and just sitting here and do this. Okay, then another call. I love to work by doing a call and then going out and laying out for 30 minutes or doing something else with my day. This business was not designed for you to sit here and literally just sit here and work the entire day in an office at a desk. You can do all of this on the road. Literally, I always did calls on my way into work, and it was great too, because I'd be like, you know what, I gotta go. I gotta walk into work. So you can cut that time off too if you need to. But I think it's super important that you don't just sit here and do calls all day, but that you're doing stuff that you also enjoy throughout the day while you're working. That is so pivotal.
Yeah, and we talked about that.
Yeah,
literally
we just
before
did.
this call. It's important to have fun.
Yes.
And
Find the joy.
you're not always going to have days where it's fun. This is hard.
Yeah.
And I want to say to every person on here, I commend you. I see you. This business this right here is not for the weak. This is not what people think it is. You are not lucky. You did not just, you're not just windy and have a great personality. She works her ass off.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's not every one of you guys, like, this is a cost, but I'm telling you, this servant leadership part, building leaders, helping people, there's no greater feeling than helping someone change their life. And y'all know this. There's no greater feeling in Cincy. No greater feeling. And so in saying that, yeah, that's pretty much it with the coaching. I'm going to share this outline with you guys, and I'll make sure it's in the description of this video. Do y'all have any questions that maybe I missed about the coaching? Did this all make sense? Does this seem pretty attainable? You know, definitely making sure that you have like the schedule time, and Kristen works different days. So what Kristen's probably going to do is her time blocks may only be a couple weeks out, right? Mine are pretty solid. So,
Yeah.
you know, mine are always going to be Tuesday and
You're
Thursday.
gonna do what's gonna work for you.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing. You have to do what works for you.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do what works for you, you are gonna crash and burn.
Yes.
You have to, yeah.
And the consistency though, and I
Yes.
know like this is something I
Yes.
didn't say, but you're not going to see it at first. You're not
Yeah.
going to see
Takes a while.
it's going to be pulling teeth to get people to want to coach with you. It's going to be discouraging, but listen, this is why you start right at the beginning. Like I have a certified consultant that's in her first 70 days that I'm literally coaching. It's tomorrow, Friday, on Friday. So in 2 days, because she knew right at the get-go, like, hey, I want to help you. You know, like you're killing it. I saw you did Shooting Star, saw you did this. And I say that because we've got to get them as close to like the beginning as we can, because if we can help instill value and help them understand how to sell and help them understand how to have fun and bring those bags to work. Like, I think what are you
Go ahead.
dropping off, a bulb or something?
And a bag.
And I was like, you're dropping off a bag party too. Those are the kinds of things with
Yeah.
our team early on we can teach them. So then it goes, you don't even need to earn a kit. Okay. It's, hey, those people that have that party, you need to tell them to join now. It's all a progression. Then they join, then it's let me help them launch. Then before you know it, you're helping them recruit and you're helping them become a leader and you're helping their lives change. And so, you
I was
know,
and did you answer
Yes.
about the 90 days yet? No.
yeah, I did answer.
You
So
did?
I'll do a call, another call in 90 days from there, because I also like if they have systems they're putting in place, systems need to be used for 90 days, not a month.
Well, and there's also scientific study around that too.
Oh, there is?
Yeah. So basically, you know, businesses do it. That's why quarterly, like numbers, quarterly release, earning releases, all these things. So basically,
Mhm.
for
You need time for it.
individuals, it takes like for behavior change or for new habits to grow, it takes about 90 days for you to
Makes
start seeing those results if something is implemented.
Well,
Coaching it on
yeah.
a monthly basis won't instill self-reflection, and it won't instill them to
No.
know. What will end up happening is you'll start to become a crutch, meaning
Yeah.
they'll start leaning on you to work their business, which is the opposite of coaching.
Yeah,
So,
and we both did that a
Yeah,
lot.
Yeah.
sure.
We coached monthly for like 2
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
And we were like, we're missing people. And this is the last thing I'll say with you guys as SSDs on the call now. Your time is so valuable. That's not selfish. That's just, it's important. And
Yeah.
so when you're constantly coaching the same people, who are you bringing in?
Yeah.
So that's going to also show you, like, even for like the retreat me and Shayna are doing this year, we want new leaders in every time, because you bring these new people in, you coach these new people. Now you're constantly replenishing. So that's going to allow you as the SSD to go, okay, if I don't have anybody to coach, I need to recruit.
Yeah.
Right? Basic level of thinking, but it's like, if you don't have anybody to coach, go find them, go get parties out, get them to join, right? And let's get some people to coach, and let's make sure you have a launch when they join. Some of y'all may not have a launch system. You need a system for how you launch them. And I'm not just talking about public broadcast, project broadcast, whatever it is a lot of people use. I think that's great. But here's the deal, like, are you literally getting on the phone with them and like having conversation and setting goals and telling them how pumped you are and pushing them and stretching them to do a home launch party? Like, the launch is
It's
everything, right? No kit without a launch party, right, Wendy? So yeah, so that's it, babe.
Well, I'll say one thing real quick, and I think this is important for everybody. Well, because I like connecting things. That's my thing. So I'll look at things, and what I noticed through COVID and through the depersonalization of everything, and I'm a creature of this too. Like, it happened to me. You can try to almost become overly efficient, meaning you try to make it to where you take yourself out of everything and have something do it. I feel like in this business particular, there are businesses where, yeah, you want to replace yourself. But in this business, one thing I'll say, you can have I've looked at all the apps. I promise you, I've looked at boards. I've looked at project broadcast. I've looked at everything. I've noticed the more that those apps have been implemented, there's been a decline in development of leaders. There's been a decline in sales. There's been a decline in a lot of the things. However, the leaders who know how to do it, their sales have stayed the same and everything has stayed the same. But because you guys were taught personally one-on-one how to do it, you were taught and showed, and not through an app or a system. And like I said, I am not saying that those apps and systems are wrong or anything specifically with them is wrong. What I'm saying is there are certain parts specifically in this business, because there's the stigma that MLMs or don't build a business. There's a pyramid scheme. You have all these negativity to where you have to be real, vulnerable, and personal without the sake of like taking everything out of it. So I just wanted to preface that. So like I hear that a lot. I'll talk to people and hear people in other industries too. The first thing I ask from a developmental standpoint, because this is around, like it's hard to keep people with the mindset and the work culture the way it is now. It's hard to build and get people to see past what's happening today.
Yeah.
And so what I want to say is in this business, specifically with growing leaders, I don't believe that there is an app besides Calendly from a scheduling standpoint. I don't believe there's anything that's going to replace you in the value your voice and your experience has.
Nothing.
So I just want to say that, like I said, there is a time and place, I think, for a mass scale, like using it on your team page, using it on your leadership page, using it on all these different things. But what I want to say is like for specifically developing people, don't try to create a automation for that, if that makes sense. Don't try to automate that.
No, this is Aaron who
I
asked
think
this
it's
question.
Aaron, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and there was one more question. I'm actually going to stop the recording.
Yeah, and I love you guys.